how has the papacy waged war against the Fourth Commandment? Prophecy says the little horn power will try to change times and laws. In his word, the whole world will convert to Catholicism.
When the whole world will become Catholic.
What is Project 2025? It's a call for you to come work here, Washington, D.C.
And you're now allowed to use it. I get in there, you're going to be using that power at a level that you've never used it before.
We should be debating a bill requiring every American to attend a church of their choice on Sunday.
We're going to bring it back, and I really believe it's the biggest thing missing from this country. It's the biggest thing missing. We have to bring back our religion. We have to bring back Christianity in this country.
Friends, we are here today. Presentation number 7, the mark of the beast. We're going to have a part 2. First, we're going to find out what the mark of the beast is in this presentation. And the second time we speak about this, next time, we're going to be talking about how it is being enforced, how it is being wrought and being worked on behind the scenes. And you're going to see how this is going to happen. Let's begin by reading what the Bible says. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image, and receiveth his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstones in the presence of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever. And they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Note, many will be deceived into accepting the mark of the beast. What the mark of the beast is, very few actually know. The mark of the beast is the counterfeit version of the seal of God. The scripture strongly warns us against receiving it. Before one could avoid it, he must first understand what the beast mark is and what it means to receive it into the foreheads or into the hand. In today's study, you will discover the biblical facts, the biblical facts about the mark of the beast. Let's move on. Now, I'm going to use a simple study method today. This is the one that Jesus uses throughout the prophecies: review and enlarge. The study of review and enlarge, we're going to be applying that today, because a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is nothing but things we've already covered. So we're going to have a review segment right now. And after that, we're going to enlarge and then expose things for what they are. I got videos to share, and I got my sermon notes below. Make sure you click the link where it says free stuff. You're going to have this PowerPoint, at least a PDF format of this PowerPoint. Having said that, let's get to it. So let's ask a question. According to our past lessons, who is the beast? And we spoke about the beast from Revelation chapter 13, verse 1. It is the beast that rises out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, right? This beast, when you carefully study what it is, and the identifying marks, and we said from our studies and research with historical backing, it is none other than the papacy, the papal power. It is the Antichrist of Bible prophecy. And we already explained this, friend, in presentation number 2. If you haven't heard it, well, go check it out. And then we went on to speak about how the beast is going to do the things that he does. Now, first of all, here are a number of facts about the beast and what it's going to do. We said it is a composite beast. Not only that, we said that he received his power and great authority from the dragon. He speaks blasphemies. He persecuted God's saints. He rules for time, and dividing of time. He received a deadly wound. And not only that, the number of his head is also the number of his name is 666. And he received a deadly wound, and his deadly wound will be healed. And we spoke about all of this in details in presentation number 2 and presentation number 3. Check it out. When you compare the attitude or the characteristics and attributes of Revelation 13, beast out of the sea, it parallels the little horn power of Daniel chapter 7. We are told that little horn has 10 different facts about it. And when you look at this vision that Daniel had in chapter 7, he saw the four great beasts, Babylon, Medo Persia, Greece, Rome. Nothing but history. But we are told Daniel began to focus on the fourth beast. And as he focuses on the fourth beast, he sees that this beast has horns on his head, 10 horns. However, 3 of the horns fell apart at the rise of a small horn. It is referred to as the little horn. And then Daniel went on to explain different identities of the little horn power, because that little horn is the Antichrist of Bible prophecy. And when you compare and contrast Daniel's revelation and identities of the little horn, it perfectly parallels the beast of Revelation chapter 13. What you find out is that the little horn power is a little horn. He arose among them. He arose after them, plucked up 3 horns, diverse and different from them. He has eyes of a man. He speaks pompous words and blasphemies as well. He persecuted God's saints. He will try to change times and laws. And I want to focus on this here today. The little horn power will try to change times and law in the rules for a time, times and half a time, 1,260 years Bible prophecy time. We've already addressed all of this. And we spoke about how the historian men confirmed the fact that the Pope filled the place of the vacant emperors of Rome. When Rome fell apart, the papacy took the key and sat on the throne. Church and state was established from pagan Rome to papal Rome. Again, many historical facts have confirmed the fact that beyond the shadow of a doubt, the Roman Catholic Church, the papacy, is the Antichrist of Bible prophecy. No doubt. And I've also shared that even the Protestant reformers believe this. They had many things that they did not agree upon when it comes to certain teachings and doctrines of the faith. But when it comes to knowing who Antichrist was in their days, all of them agreed. And I've shared this quotation, all roads leads to Rome, a great cloud of witnesses, Wycliffe, Tyndale, Luther, Calvin, Kramer, in the 17th century, Bunyan, interested in the Kingdom version of the Bible, men who published the Western and Baptist Confession of Faith, Sir Isaac Newton, Wesley, Whitefield, Jonathan Edwards, and more recently, which is Spurgeon, Bishop Jesse Rouse, and Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones, these men, among countless of others, all of them saw the office of the papacy as the Antichrist. Now, you may be asking the question, why do Protestants have a different perspective about this? Listen, I got something coming for you. There's a study that I'm working on right now, putting it together. It is called the Counter Reformation. To understand why many modern day Protestants today, evangelicals, do not understand, no longer believe why the papacy is Antichrist, you need to understand the Counter Reformation. That's a future study. So now we take the same position as Seventh-day Adventists of the Reformers. We don't change our belief. We don't believe in a Counter Reformation. This is why we say the same thing that the Reformers have said of old. Question number 2. What 2 changes was shown to Daniel the prophet that the little horn power will try to do? 2 major changes. Are you ready? The little horn power as one of the identifying marks. Number 9, it will try to change what? Times and laws. So the Antichrist power will try to do what things? It will try to think to change times and laws. That's what we are told in Bible prophecy. Change the times and laws have 2 different applications. Number 1, changing the time of prophetic interpretation. How did the little horn power do this? I just told you, but I'm going to repeat it. The Protestant Reformation was the movement that really put the Bible in the hands of the people and restrained the power of the state and the church to work together. That's what it did. But while this was going on, the reformers saw the papacy as Antichrist and they exposed them. So how was he going to do and undo this massive damage that was happening to his kingdom? Well, the answer was the Counter Reformation. Jesuit priests came together with the thought, if we can't destroy them, we might as well join them. So instead of attacking the people, hurting the people, killing the people with false teachings and falsehood, they say, how about we become among them? We join them. Let's get into their books and change their interpretation of prophecy. This was a camouflage move. Diabolically speaking, it was successful. So what has happened? You see, there are 2 ways you can put out fire. You can put out fire with water, or you can put out fire with fire. This is called control burning. You see, the enemy of souls have figured this out. The best way to put out this fire of flame that was burning during the Reformation, it went ahead and it burned certain portions of the land so that when the flame got to the point where the places have been burned, it comes to an end. So Satan has tried to burn off the Reformation by putting it out with water, did not work. Well, it used fire to fight fire, and it was successful. Today we have what? The Trust Behind series, Secret Rapture, the rebuilding of the temple, 7 years tribulations, and so on. All these concepts are coming from the Counter Reformation. I'm giving you a taste of a future study here. We're not going to go deep into that. We have tribulation. We have a pre-trib, post-trib, and mid-trib concept. And what's going on as a result? Confusion is in the land. The Protestant world cannot see the Antichrist. Why? Because the Counter Reformation has done his work. So, friends, what we have, false interpretation of Bible prophecy, preterism, futurism, and these views have actually brought about more confusion in the Christian faith today. Until today, very few can actually identify the papacy, and this is why the papacy is so successful in misleading and meddling in politics, in getting caught up in foreign affairs, and putting his mouth in politics and changing laws and concepts in our society, and very few can expose the hypocrisy of the system. Friends, and the second thing the prophecy is talking about changing times and laws is that he has changed, at least tried to change the laws that has to do with time. What do I mean by that? Question number 3. In the 10 Commandments, which specific law is both a law, listen carefully, and also a time? There's only one, friends. It is the Sabbath of the Lord. Out of the 10 Commandments, the one law that is both a law and a time, it is the Sabbath commandment. Remember the Sabbath day to do what? To keep it holy. We are told, for 6 days shalt thou labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it thou shalt not do any work, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy servant, nor thy maidservant. For what? For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth and the sea and all that in them, and rested the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. This is the only commandment that is constrained or written in time. The Sabbath is a temple in time. How has the papacy waged war against the Fourth Commandment? Prophecy says the little horn power will try to change times and laws. Prophetically, interpretation is done that. Secondarily, going into the very law of God, has it tried to change the law of God? Is this false concept? Is this conspiracy theory? Is this minister online talking nonsense? Well, let's move on to question number 4. We are told, does the papacy admit to have made such a change to the Sabbath? Friends, it's time to read their words. You don't want to hear from me. Let's read their own words. From Sabbath to Sunday, the Pope is of great authority and power that he can modify, explain, or interpret even divine laws. The Pope can modify divine laws since his power is not of man but of God, and he acts as a vicegerent of God upon earth. Have they even done that? Or is just some guy just speaking boldly? Well, let's find out. These are the 10 commandments of God. 4 commandments on the first table, 6 on the other table, right? Well, this is the Catholic version of the 10 commandments. What you have is they have 5 on the first table, but if you're paying attention, there's something else going on here. The second commandment has been removed from the Catholic Church. And the 10th commandment has also changed, and the words of the 4th commandment has also changed. So what you now have, the Catholic Church says in the 4th commandment, it becomes the 3rd commandment because the number 2 has been removed. And to make room for number 2 that has been removed to replace number 2, to add on another one, they split number 10 and make it 2 commandments when in God's law it is only 1. So what's going on here? Deception. Corruption. You might think, okay, this guy is just talking nonsense. Okay, friends. Here are the words of the Pope. Pope explains the 6 commandments. You shall not commit adultery. What's wrong with this statement? Committing adultery is not the 6th commandment, it's number 7. So in which commandment is he quoting from? God's commandments or the Catholic's version of the commandments? The Catholic's version. So which one is true? The one that God gave us or the one that the papacy is preaching from? Since the 2nd commandment has been removed from the papacy, by the papacy, what's going on here? Idolatry. God said you should not make unto you on any graven images or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, in the earth beneath, that is anything under the earth. You should not bow thyself down to them nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God. But no. The church says, oh no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So what do we have now? Idolatry. Idolatry. And the Bible tells us in Psalm 115, my dear friends, they're idols of silver and gold, the work of man's hand. They have mouth, but they speak not. Eyes, but they have they, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. Noses have they, but they smell not. They have hands, but they handle not. Feet and have they, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat. They that make them are like unto them, and so is everyone that trusteth in them. No idolatry. But not only so, we are told they also wage war against the Sabbath of the Lord. In the Catholic's version, the Sabbath in the Bible has 115 words in it, with details explaining what you need to do, which day it is, how to keep it holy. But the Catholic version is, remember to keep holy the Sabbath day. Which one is it? It could be any. It's very vague, ambiguous. How do we know which the Sabbath is? Well, it's up to you. It's for me to know, for you to find out. Why is that a problem? It goes to the next point we're trying to prove right now. Now, the 4th commandment has been also under attack. He went on to say, we're reading from Catholics' writing here, friends. This is not my church. These are not my words. This is their own books and reference below. Go check it out. Go check it out. Why do you feel that you have the power and authority and ability to change scripture to match your tradition? Has she not such power? She could not have done in that which with her, she could not have substituted the observance of the week, okay? For the observance of all modern religionists agree, Sunday, the first day of the Saturdays, the 7-day Sabbath, a change for which there is no scriptural authority. According to the church, the power of the church is her ability to change the day of worship from Saturday to Sunday. These are their words. And it says there is no scriptural authority for this. So when the Protestant church comes to me, when my Protestant friends comes to me, and they want to argue in the comments below, you see why you're not going to win this fight. You're wasting your time. As somebody will say, you might as well go talk to a tree. Because, listen, man, they're telling you with their own mouths, they've made the change. And you come in here making excuses, talking about, well, Jesus resurrected on Sunday morning. Oh, yeah, great. That doesn't mean the law of God has been changed because of that. Oh, Paul picked up offering on Sunday morning. Oh, gosh. Oh, they had meals. They had communion on Sunday morning. Really? Like, come on, man. Can you be honest? The Catholic Church, of its own infallible authority, created Sunday, a holy day, to take the place of the Sabbath of the Old Testament, of the old law. I don't know why they refer to it as the old law. The Catholic Church, by virtue of her divine mission, changed the day from Saturday to Sunday. These are the words, my dear friends. Canon and Tradition, page 263. The authority of the church could therefore not be bound to the authority of the scriptures, because the church has changed the Sabbath into Sunday, not by the commands of Christ, but what? By his own authority. Let's move on. Question: which is the Sabbath day? Answer: Saturday is the Sabbath day. Question: why do you observe Sunday instead of Saturday? Answer: we observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church in the Council of Laodicea transferred the solemnity from Saturday to Sunday. These are the words, my dear friends. I'm not done. They're not done, and I'm not done. Is not every Christian obliged to sanctify Sunday and abstain on the day from, unnecessary servile work? Is not the observance of this law among the most prominent of our sacred duties? They're talking now. They're talking. But you may read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, and they are rebuking Protestant churches who are making excuses for Sunday. This is a Catholic man rebuking us. Well, not me, rebuking them. Let me get myself out of there. Because listen, when we keep the Sabbath for the Lord, so I'm not in that category. It says, you can look from Genesis to Revelation. You will not find a single line authorizing the sanctification of Sunday. The scripture enforced the religious observance of Saturday, a day which we never sanctify. They went on to say some more. They're speaking to Protestants. They say Protestantism, in disregarding the authority of the Roman Catholic Church, has no good reason for his observance of Sunday. The theory of Sunday, you can't keep it. That's the Catholic Church. Why? Ought to logically keep Saturday as the Sabbath. These are the words. He say, if you are Protestant and you're keeping Sunday, well, you might as well say you're not a Protestant, you are a Roman Catholic. Come to our Catholic Church service, because that day belongs to us. You see, if you are truly a Protestant and you go by the Bible, you will keep the Sabbath. These are the words. They went on to say, it is well to remind that the Presbyterians, Baptists, Methodists, and all other Christians that the Bible does not support them anywhere in their observance of Sunday. Sunday is an institution of the Roman Catholic Church, and those who observe the day observe a command of the Catholic Church itself. Are they being clear? Are they being bold? Is there anything here that you don't understand? I get it. They went on to say, Rome challenged. They're still challenging the Catholic Church. They went on to say, the Adventists are the only body of Christians with the Bible as their teacher. I didn't say that they did. Who could find no warrant in his pages for the change of day, the 7th to the 1st? Hence their the appellation, Seventh-day Adventists. They are cardinal principles consist in setting apart Saturday, the exclusive worship of God, in conformity with the positive command of God himself, repeatedly reiterated in the sacred books of the Old and New Testaments, literally kept by the children of Israel for thousands of years to this day, and endorsed by the teaching and practice of the Son of God while on earth. This is what they're saying. The Seventh-day Adventists are the only one who are keeping the Lord's Sabbath as it's supposed to be done. So do Protestant writers feel the same way? At least the ones before, the ones that were very honest about things? Listen. The answer to that is yes. Let me read to you now. These are Protestants' writings. Is there no express commandment for observing the first day of the week as Sabbath instead of the seventh day? None whatsoever. None whatever. Neither Christ, nor his apostles, nor the first Christians celebrated the first day of the week instead of the seventh day as the Sabbath. Let's move on to the Baptist. They said, the scriptures nowhere call the first day of the week the Sabbath. There is no scriptural authority for so doing. Nor, of course, any scriptural obligation. Baptist. Episcopalian Church says this. The observance of the first instead of the seventh rests on the testimony of the church and the church alone, referring to the Catholic Church. Oh, I'm not done. I got more. The Christian church made no formal but a gradual and almost unconscious transference of the one day to the other. That's what we did. opposition to Judaism introduced the particular festival of Sunday very early, indeed, into the place of the Sabbath. The festival of Sunday, like all the other festivals, was always only a human ordinance. Exactly. And it was far from the intention of the apostles to establish a divine commandment in this respect. Far from them. And from the early apostolic church to transfer the laws of the Sabbath to Sunday. Perhaps at the end of the 2nd century, a false application of this kind had begun to take place, for men appear by that time to have considered laboring on Sunday as a sin. Great controversy. Listen carefully to these words. Had the Sabbath been universally kept, men's thoughts and affection will have been led to the Creator as the object, now listen carefully, as the object of reverence and worship, and there would have never been an idolater, an atheist, or an infidel. Question number 6. Who first enjoined Sunday keeping by law? Friends, you should know this by now. Constantine. Emperor Constantine did this with it did on March 7th, 321. Constantine, the first Christian emperor, decreed that Sunday will be observed as the Roman day of rest. He calls it the venerable day of the sun. Again, the venerable day of the sun. It's been about the sun from the very start. And we're going to do a little bit of history about sun worship today. Oh, believe me. Let the magistrates and the people residing in the cities rest. Let all workshop be closed. This was the first national Sunday law in Rome, my dear friends. Constantine the Great. So let's take a little step back and looking at the history of the sun. Early sun worship and idolatry. We are told the suns have given many gods, the same sun god today. It was worshiping Apollos, as in Rome, it was called Sol Invictus. In Hindu, Syria, in Egypt, Ra. In Phoenicians, it was called Baal. The same Baal you find throughout the Bible is always a reference to the sun god. Sun worship is the highest deity for the pagans, friends. It's always been that way and still is today. And we are told in a note, all throughout Bible times for several centuries thereafter, the sacred day of the people of God was the 7-day Sabbath, the Bible Sabbath, we are told. It was the memorial of creation and the only weekly Sabbath given in the Bible. The sacred day of paganism was the memorial of the sun god, the first day of the week. His day was called the venerable day of the sun. This is the history, friends. So, what do we know about the history of the sun god? Let's take a travel back to Genesis chapter 6, the antediluvian world. The Bible says God saw the wickedness of men were great in the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of their hearts were only evil continually. This is why God called Noah and said, build an ark. You and your family have I found righteous in my sight. And I want you to preach for 120 years. Anyone who onboards the ark will avoid the flood. But we know what happened. 8 people got into the ark, and the rest of them perished. But now, here is some things I want you to understand. Noah built an ark. Noah preached for 120 years. Some were saved and died before the flood, by the way. And only 8 people onboarded the ark, and the flood came in 2348 BC. So now what happens as a result? The flood came, and then Noah and his family were left. They made a sacrifice in Genesis chapter 8, showing reverence to God. But now, here is the thing you need to understand. Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and their wives. Now, having understood this is how the world began to be going to sun worship. We have Shem, Ham, and Japheth, those 3 sons of Noah. History shows, listen, the entire human race has their etymology or their origin right there. And we can go into that for some more studies. But here is the thing you need to understand. Shem was the Middle Eastern man. Ham was the Southwest Africans. And also the European and Asian men came from Japheth. This is what we are told. And after the flood, these men spread throughout the world. Okay, and they were having families and children. So remember now, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, 3 men, and they were having children. And then generations began to follow. And what we are told about Ham in particular, it was out of Ham came somebody named Cush. It was out of Cush came somebody else named Cush Nimrod. We are told about Cush Nimrod. He became a great and mighty man in the earth, the Bible says. A mighty hunter before the Lord. The proper interpretation of this text is a mighty hunter against the Lord. Cush Nimrod was mighty, my dear friends. Powerful, great, strong man. He was like a superhero of his time. It's been said about Cush Nimrod that the man was so big and massive that what he's holding in his hand here, friends, it's not a lie. It's not a cat. It's a tiger. So these were the type of men they were. He was protecting the village from ferocious animals. That was part of his work. But keep in mind, the word Nimrod, it means Morad. It really means at the heart, a rebel. So he was a mighty, a powerful tyrant against the Lord. That's what the name Nimrod actually means. And I want you to understand, this is the foundation of sun worship. Now, having understood that, there are 3 books you need to read. If you are interested in that kind of stuff, I would say there are 3 books you need to read. You need to purchase yourself the William Sutton book, The Antichrist 666, The Two Babylons by Alexander Hillsop, or get yourself The Great Controversy. These 3 books should be in your library, because he exposes the reality of things. Now, look at what's going on here. The religion of Nimrod, the religion of Babylon. And let's look at the historical thing that goes behind that. We are told Nimrod built a great city. It is known as Babylon, Babel, the Tower of Babel, how it is known today. At the heart of that was mystery religion. This wasn't so much like a one system in a sense. It was a system that combined, it amalgamated every other religious teachings. Everybody was allowed to come to Babylon and become one. This was a one world religion, even though they had different views and perception of religion. Despite of that, there was the astrology. There was also superstitions, numerology, and the grottos. And this is where you get the concept of all sexual sins, all religious practice. All of it was welcome at Nimrod's tarot. And why this was happening, the Bible knew they were doing this out of unbelief, because they were doing this because God told them there will never be a flood again. And they were building this tower as an act of rebellion against God, city builders. It was out of that we also have astrologies today. Oh, don't get me started about this. Oh, don't get me started about this. All these signs and so on. Listen, friends, that's Nimrod religion. But we have 3 main doctrines in Nimrod religion, right? We had the deification of the man, the immorality of the soul, and the veneration of the sun. These were the main teachings at the foundation of Babel religion. And guess what? The same is true today. Man becoming God, man possesses an immortal soul, and that the sun itself needs to be venerated. So Nimrod's religion, how did it go about? We are told the story goes a little something like this. Nimrod eventually passed away. After Nimrod died, his spirit went into the sun. That's what we are told, according to legends. And his spirit got into the sun. And Nimrod had a wife named Semiramis. Semiramis got pregnant. When Semiramis got pregnant, she said she got pregnant by the rays of the sun. And she says the spirit of Nimrod in the sun got her pregnant. Now we have the concept of the sun god. So you get that? We get what's going on here? So this was the teaching back then. This was taught to the people. And now what we have, sun worship. So here's this woman now, she's pregnant. She's going to give birth to a child named Tammuz. Supposedly, it is the new Nimrod reincarnated. We have reincarnation as well. So it was from these teachings. Now listen to the book, The Two Babylons. Now in the Babylonian, right? The Assyrian legend Nimrod died in his prime, leaving a queen named Semiramis. And listen to this: at his death, Nimrod, according to the legend, became immortal, and his spirit flew up into the sun and took possession of it. Hence, he became Baal-Simon, Lord of Heaven. This is why you notice throughout the Bible, there's a lot of sun worship. It is in Egypt, in Assyria. You listen, all around the world, sun worship. son worship. And now there is now the concept of mother and child worship. Because Tammuz, which becomes the new son of Nimrod, or Nimrod reincarnated, now you have the mother and child worship concept with the sun disk at the head. You find this in many religions. The moon goddess, Tammuz, the god of the east star Venus. You might know them as the host of heaven. And what is really disturbing about this, when you study furthermore, Semiramis was the mother, listen to this, was the mother of Nimrod. I mean, this stuff gets really complicated, friends. This was mother and a son together. Anyway, let's not get into that. Again, this was the pagan world for you. Let's move on. So what you have, Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz are now supposedly becoming the deities, which is known in scripture as the host of heaven. For example, you have Jezebel and Ahab. She worshiped the host of heaven. Listen to what we are told. And this is why God was upset with the people, because the worship of the host of heaven drives us all the way back to Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. So we have a trinity as well. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And look at that. We are told about Nimrod. Look what it says next in the second verse. And it came to pass. A light thing for him. This is talking about Ahab, to walk in the sin of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. He took his wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal of the Zidonians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. This was the problem. The worship of the host of heaven. In 1 Kings 16, we are told he reared up an altar for Baal in the house of Baal, which he built in Samaria. And also, guess what? The groves. And it's interesting. When you say the groves in the Bible, there's always sexual processes. There's always sexuality. Homosexuality was part of the worship system of the groves. I wonder if that's going on in our world today. So we have all of that going on in the system of Nimrod. And today, these Baal worship concepts is part of every other false religious system on the face of the earth. Let me show you what's going on. Semiramis and Tammuz worship, child and mother worship. Look what's going on here. In Egypt, it was happening. In Rome, it happened. In Chinese, it happened. In Hinduism, it happened. In the Roman Catholic Church, we have the Mary and Jesus concept. Is the same mother and child worship. If you take this thing a little bit further, you go to Israel, Phoenician, Babylon, Assyrians, and so on. Here's the concept right there. Mother and child worship is still going on today as we speak, and it is rooted in son worship. What were their holidays? One of their holidays was Easter. Don't get me started. Christmas. It has nothing to do with Jesus. Listen, what you do on Christmas is your business and your family. I'm not telling you what to do. What I'm telling you is this: the origin goes right back to Nimrod worship. That's a fact. Halloween, yes, it's all connected, friends. Remember, the immortality of the souls, it has a connection to the same sun God. Anyway, just telling you. So sun worship is the concept of the age. Friends, it's always been, it still is today. It's called the cult of Ra, the sun worship in Egypt. And a lot more could be said about this. My dear friends, sun worship is still prevalent today. If you go to Rome, my dear friends, it's called the Wheels of the Sun Chariot in the Karnak Sun Temple. What does the beast claim to be its mark of authority? And I've already given it to you. But it's best to hear it from the horse's mouth, like we say, right? It is well to remind Presbyterian and Baptist church and so on. We already went through this. We're not going to read this again. The Sunday institution is the Roman Catholic Church institution alone. And now, here are their words. Are you ready? Of course, the Catholic Church claimed that the change Saturday to Sunday was her act, and that act is a mark of her ecclesiastical authority in religious things. What is the mark of the beast? The change from Saturday worship, Sabbath worship, to Sunday worship. Sunday is our mark of authority. The church is above the Bible. And this transference of Sabbath observance is proof of that fact. What else do you want to hear? Take a picture. What is the mark of the beast? You're reading it, friends. You're reading it. Sunday is our mark of authority. Now, does that mean because people go to church on Sunday, they have the mark of the beast? No. But the devil got something up his sleeve for the majority. The devil got something up his sleeve for the majority, and you better be ready. Watch this. Many sincere, faithful Christians today worship on Sunday. This does not mean that they now have the mark of the beast. I want to make that abundantly clear. However, that's a big however now. All cap. Bible prophecy foretells us that in the near future, Sunday law will be legislated worldwide as the law of the land, and then the world will be polarized into two groups. How many groups? Two groups, and those who serve God and of those who serve him not. I want you to keep this thought in mind because I'm going to prove it to you. Oh, I told you I got videos to show you. The third angel's message followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hands, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstones in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. In the smoke of their torment ascended up of ever and ever. They have no rest day nor night who worship the beast in his image, whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. I got a quotation to share with you. Are you ready for this? We are told, friends, the Sunday movement is now making its way in darkness. The leaders are concealing the true issue. Many who unite in the movement do not themselves see whether the undercurrent is standing. Is profession or mild and apparently Christian now? But when it shall speak, it will reveal the spirit of the dragon. I want you to keep those thoughts in mind. The Sunday movement is not out in the open right now. It's moving behind the scene. It's making its way in darkness. The first thing we are told. And secondly, it is being concealed. It is not out in the open. It's not being exposed as a thing that is being done. But you can actually smell the breath of the dragon. Many who are in the movement are not bad people. They are decent human beings who wants to make things better in this country. However, they're going to go too far. Because in the end, it will speak and it will reveal what? The spirit of the dragon. Today, it is mild. Today, it looks Christian. But watch out. Oh, are you ready for some videos? If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get to it. Video number one. Video number one. All right. This is a Catholic man. And I want you to hear what he has to say. In his word, the whole world will convert to Catholicism, according to him. Let's take a listen.
We are in the end times battle, but we don't believe it's the end of the world. If you read the saints carefully, they say it's not the end of the world, it's the end of this era. Something new is coming. The greatest triumph of the church in all of world history is coming. When the whole world will become Catholic, the entire world. And here's something that happened to me last year, just to give you some idea how great this is, what's about to happen, a great victory. And this prayer and the smaller one on the bottom will bring the victory about. That's what this is for. So there's a second prayer on your card, you see, in bigger print. Would you say that after me right now? We'll discuss it in a minute. There's a smaller prayer underneath. Would you say this now, beloved? O blessed Lady, spread the effect of grace of thy flame of love over all of humanity. Let's say it one more time. O blessed Lady, spread the effect of grace of thy flame of love over all of humanity.
You might think this man is crazy. I will rightfully disagree with you. He's not. They may not cause people to join the Catholic Church, but Sunday observance is joining the Catholic Church. That's the goal. Okay, friends, pay attention because now I'm going to show you something else. Are you ready for the next point? The next person we have on our screen is Pope Francis. Here is the words of the Pope. He's going to tell us, friends, for people, they need to keep Sunday, okay, to make peace with God. Look at this. To make peace with life.
La domenica non è il giorno per cancellare gli altri giorni, ma per ricordarli, benedirli e fare pace con la vita. La domenica è la giornata per fare pace con la vita, dicendo la vita è preziosa. Non è facile, a volte è dolorosa, ma è preziosa.
Okay, that's according to him. We got more videos. In the next video, we're going to listen to a senator. Senator Murphy. Oh, man, this was epic. Listen carefully to his words. He is making an argument for the 40 hours work week. And the argument is that we should go down to 32 hours work week. What reason? So that people could make time for God on Sunday. And he's arguing this, friends, in the committee, in Congress. Listen to this, at the Senate.
There's a pretty wild thing happening in America today. In 2000, 70% of Americans belong to a religious institution, but today that number is 50%. This has been a pretty precipitous decline in the ability or willingness of Americans to go to church or to a religious institution on a regular basis. And I think that has lots of broad impacts in our society. But there are a lot of reasons for that. But one of them is that Americans just have less free time. When you have to work 70 hours to get the same standard of living for your family that 40 hours would have gotten you a few decades ago, you don't have time to go to Wednesday night Bible study. You might not have the ability to even attend church or services on a Sunday. You can talk about church if you want or if you don't want, but it is just true that some of the leisure time activities, some of the institutions that Americans found value and meaning in are less accessible when you have to work these long hours. I'd love to just hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things we talked about with the 32-hour work week when we put that in our contract talks was the fact that we wanted to create work-life balance. And as I say, when you're working multiple jobs to live paycheck to paycheck, or you're working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, something else is sacrificed in that, and it's what ends up happening. You have to sacrifice, ability to go to church. If it's something else to do on a Sunday, maybe you get a Sunday off and you haven't slept all week and you spend the whole day sleeping. I mean, that is a reality a lot of workers face on some of the schedules they work. And I do believe Congress has an obligation here in spending priorities and regulations, and that may be an ugly word to some people that represent business. But
listen, I agree with you. I think we should have an interest in leisure time, right? We should have an interest in making sure that people are able to find value outside of work. A lot of people find value in work, and I'm glad that they do, but a lot of people find more value by the institutions and the social clubs and the churches that they affiliate and spend time with outside of work. But that is just less accessible for people today, and that should be a public policy interest of the United States Congress, and I appreciate this hearing allowing us to talk about that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
A public policy interest to give people less time so that they can make more time to attend church on Sunday. Sounds mild, sounds Christian. Watch it. Next, Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump. And the argument here is we need to give more power to the church. And he says, if I win again, I will empower the church. Listen carefully.
Ladies and gentlemen, with your help and God's grace, the great revival of America begins on November 5th, 2024. We'll be able to do it because you're the people we want to hear from, the pastors and the ministers and the rabbis. The people in this room are the people we want to hear from, and they have to have a political voice. If you think about it, you have men, you have women, and you have religion. If you look at it, you have more than the men, you have more than the women. You have such power, but you weren't allowed to use that power and you're now allowed to use it. I get in there, you're going to be using that power at a level that you've never used it before. It's going to bring back the churchgoer. I mean, you have to see. I don't like the charts when I see charts where they're going in the wrong direction. We don't like that. We're going to bring it back, and I really believe it's the biggest thing missing from this country. It's the biggest thing missing. We have to bring back our religion. We have to bring back Christianity in this country. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I make you a simple promise. In my first term, I fought for Christians harder than any president has ever done before. You know that. You know that. And I will fight even harder for Christians with 4 more years in the White House. We did things that the likes of which nobody has ever done for Christians in this country, and I'm very proud of that and honored by it. Evangelists like the late, great Pat Robertson, who was a great gentleman, got to know him very well. Great evangelist. And of course, Billy Graham. How good was Billy Graham, right? I remember my father took me to Yankee Stadium, and Billy Graham was preaching, and it was amazing. I was very young. My father loved Billy Graham, and that place was packed, bigger than any World Series game, bigger than anything anybody's ever seen, and it was packed. And we would love to bring it back to those days, Jack, right? We'd love to bring it back to those days. Amazing. Our country would greatly benefit by it.
Oh boy, we can say a whole lot about that. But anyway, here goes Senator Sylvia Allen, and she's being clear about Sunday laws, Sunday church going laws. Listen carefully to what she says here.
We should be debating a bill requiring every American to attend a church of their choice on Sunday to see if we can get back to having a moral rebirth. But I really believe that this bill, by allowing people with CCW permits, I believe what's happening to our country is that there's a horrible erosion of the soul of America. Yes, there is a horrible erosion of the disregard for the sanctity of life and the violence that we have on our streets, and it is not back to the weapons. I mean, we heard the story of the man stabbing his mother. You want to do violence, you'll use a clock in a courtroom, or you can use knives, or you can use whatever. It's the soul that is corrupt. And how we get back to a moral rebirth in this country, I don't know, since we are slowly eroding religion at every opportunity that we have. Probably we should be debating a bill requiring every American to attend a church of their choice on Sunday to see if we can get back to having a moral rebirth. But since that would never be allowed, and we would not even be debating that.
Mm-hmm. So that will never be allowed? Where we are headed there. We are headed there. And again, a lot more could be said, friends. I'm gonna skip this one. I'm gonna tell you what this is about. This is a call for Climate Sunday. This is a call from Roman Catholics and many evangelicals for Climate Sunday. And the call is, we need to rest on Sunday. We need to rest on Sunday to save the climate. Okay?
Worship or calling to climate action begins with our faith. Hold a Climate Sunday service and together as a community begin to explore why action for the climate is part of our discipleship.
We can say a lot about that. Behind the Sunday movement, there is something called climate change. Climate change. We're going to have to come and talk about this. Now, in this video, what you're about to hear is from Heritage Foundation. There is another thing now being discussed, and this will take another video all by itself. This is called the Project 2025. Some call it fascist. I'm not calling it fascist. That's how they see it, and these are their words. All I know is this smells like trouble to me. Let me explain to you why. Let's take a listen. This is an actual 2 minutes commercial by the Heritage Foundation, which is a Roman Catholic institution itself. And they're all pushing for this. And this is one of the biggest thing going on right now, where conservative Christian nationalists, which I'm not against conservative nor Christian nationalists in theory. However, the extreme side of this thing is the problem. Watch this. This is their commercial.
What is Project 2025? It's a call for you to come work here, Washington, D.C.
Conservatives face a tough challenge in Washington, the swamp. The left has built a system that blocks and sabotages our efforts to run our government and deliver a conservative agenda.
People would come into the government on behalf of a president and not be bought into the agenda that he was elected to do. They were either uncommitted or incompetent.
Things aren't going to change unless you commit to serving our country.
We want to make sure that the plans that are in place have been vetted so that the person knows not only what argument and excuses come in their way, but what the answer is, and have the trust of a movement-wide effort led by the Heritage Foundation to make sure that they know that it's credible and it's conservative.
This time, we have a secret weapon. This time, we have Project 2025. By learning from the experience of former conservative appointees, we can overcome common obstacles and get things done.
The reason I got involved is because I wanted to be part of a movement-led effort, and Heritage Foundation has used their influence to be able to convene the movement.
We can be ready to hit the ground running on day one of the next administration. In the wise words of Morton Blackwell, you owe it to your philosophy to study how to win. Project 2025 will ensure a conservative agenda is ready to roll on day number 1.
Make sure that we, as conservatives, are prepared to hit the ground running January 20th, 2025. To learn more, go to project2025.org.
Did you hear what we talked about today? Is a Sunday law coming? Is the mark of the beast about to be enforced? Are you hearing the drum of a national Sunday law? I hear it. And I want to read this final quotation here. I don't want to say too much, but I've said enough already. We're going to end this video. And I want you to think about what you heard today. The Sabbath will be the great test of loyalty. For it is the point of truth especially controverted. When the final test shall be brought to bear upon man, the line of distinction will be drawn between those who serve God and those who serve him not. While the observance of the fall Sabbath in compliance with the law of the state, contrary to the Fourth Commandment, will be an avowal of allegiance to the power that is in opposition to God, the keeping of the true Sabbath in obedience to God's law is an evidence of loyalty to the Creator himself. While one class, by accepting the sign of submission of the earthly powers, receive the mark of the beast, the other, choosing the token of allegiance to divine authority, receive the seal of God. Think on these things, friends. Think on these things. How close are we to the end? We are very close. And a Sunday law is about to be enforced. And friends, I could say a lot more today, but I think it's best we end it. Share your thought and perspective with me. I want to hear from you. We have to have a part 2. Oh, there's too much going on here. There's way too much going on. We could not cover everything in one video. We have to have a part 2. Guess what I didn't tell you? What does it mean to receive it in your forehead? What does it mean to receive it in your hands? How is this going to be taking place? What are some of the movement behind the scene? We only saw a little bit of it. Listen, it's much worse than that. And it's going to take a whole nother video. We have to have a part 2. So brace yourself for the next one. Like, subscribe to the page, please. Click the bell icon for more. Have a good one. Bye.